roll now. All right, guys, welcome to the Cohort Cast. We are up to episode 4. We did have 3 and 4 sort of going together last round with Big Dax, but the dude just talks endlessly, so we had to keep them all in one because it all rolled through.
Knowledge bombs.
Dropping some bombs. Welcome to our 6 listeners. Paul here. Big Lock is on hiatus. The big man has been taken by the Olympic Committee to Uluru, doing Olympic man things. The bobsleigh team were chosen as the spirit of the games. So they've been taken to Ayers Rock, and each year they do a marathon there. And they've been selected to run the marathon in their gear and get it all sorted. Big event, so it'll be good. Today we have Soph with us. She'll be helping me debunk some of these Pacific Regionals workouts that we went and watched last week, or week before now actually. Week before. So we're going to go into that. We're going to go into a little bit of Soph's training. I did all these workouts, unfortunately, so I might even have a little bit of embarrassing times to share with you guys. But yeah, welcome in. We're going to have a bit of fun, and I hope you get something from it. I'll just start the stopwatch. If you heard that, I'll do it again. 20 minutes, that's all we're allowed. We have to do 20-minute edits every time. So guys, those of you who haven't met Soph, and those of you who are listening from the podcast or overseas, Soph has been with our team probably since we really opened this gym at Cohort, in terms of coaching and things like that. Soph flies this sort of elite banner for our coaching staff, competing in the Open and various events, finishing in the top 60 this year, which is the top 0.005%. So kind of holds our team accountable for walking the walk. Extremely intelligent, also my fiancée, so I'm always biased about that. Big part of our community here, takes care of a lot of things behind the scenes. Her and Ryan sort of do all the stuff that myself and Locke and Ollie don't really want to spend the time doing. It's a bit tedious. The tasks that need to be done that they don't sort of get the time in the spotlight. Coaching with us, full-time at uni, part-time at NextGen, our sponsor, and just all around pretty busy. So I'll let Soph jump in and tell us, first of all, what you're studying at uni and how often you're there and things like that.
I'm studying a biomedical science degree. I'm in my final year. I'm in amongst exams at the moment. So I have had I've had an array of units that I've studied sort of over the course of the 3 years, from physiology and exercise physiology to neuroscience and molecular science and cancer. And so it's a very broad degree in a sense that I get to experience a lot of units and get to dip my toes in a lot of things. But this final semester that I'm in next semester is going to be more of a honing in for professional skills and more in an area that I'm interested in, of brain cancer. So working on a project with glioblastoma and some of the leading researchers in the Central Coast, Sydney and Hunter region next semester, so that'll be pretty cool. I generally head to uni around 3 times a week. That's a good week.
In Newcastle, for an hour from here.
In Newcastle, yeah, I commute to Callahan. So it's not the best. I originally was enrolled in Arimba, but I wanted to sort of change it up and do a different degree that I was originally enrolled in. So yeah, it's 3 times a week is generally what I do. Next semester will be different in a sense that I have supervision for around 6 to 8 hours a day for 2 days a week, and then I'll be working specifically with the project and all that kind of stuff as well. So
with the degree, for those who don't do biomedical science, you're talking about cancer and stuff, is it mainly health related? Is that what you study, or do you do sort of like environmental, or is it mainly all to do with health?
It's all a health science degree, so it's based predominantly on medical science research. So the human body, human physiology, and biotechnology. So things that we're evaluating and kind of going to the new lengths that are in the bioinformatics and sort of biology units of medical research. Yeah.
Does that degree in terms of training, would that transfer over for you, or is it more just like, the training sort of, you try to separate those two things and have training as just an outlet, or you sort of overlap them, or what's your thoughts on those two things?
I definitely learn a lot in terms of physiology, lung capacity, things that I'm doing to my body in terms of adapting it whilst I train. And so I do know probably more about the physiological side of things that I'm doing to myself while we do CrossFit. And while I train at the level that I'm training at, in terms of why I do the things that I do, that I don't really have an understanding of that, like the periodization and things like that is all you. I don't know in terms of why I do the things that I do to a certain extent, but definitely in terms of even psychology of training, and when we did our pain unit and learning about
VO2 max.
VO2 max and things like that, and learning psychology and all that kind of stuff really helps in terms of being able to separate myself, like, okay, you're not actually hurting right now, it's all psychological. So it's probably a bit sciencey.
So do you think
helps.
in terms of separating those two things, if you were to say view through social media a training plan or a routine, would you be less inclined to be critical of that compared to, say, you watching someone express things about health? Like, are you more orientated? So if I was to say, put up on Instagram, eating this, taking this supplement, or I'm watching Rich Froning's training, would you be more entitled to which piece?
I'd be more entitled to be probably more critical of the nutritional side and that sort of stuff. Supplementation, yeah, because I think there's a crux behind a lot of things that is unfortunately false, and a lot of people in the health industry and being a part of it, you do get sucked into a few things. Even some of the top end athletes, you see them posting a few things that physiologically and scientifically can't happen and have been debunked, and I find that quite interesting. I do get a little frustrated, but in terms of training, I would never criticize someone's training, because
it's a different thing, isn't it?
It's a completely different thing, and everything works individually for different people. In terms of like skill and what people put on social media, like I do as a coach can see movement patterning and things that may not be important or right or correct.
Yeah.
And that can be annoying, but not the programming side, more the health side, like nutrition and supplements and things like that.
So with the degree, in terms of getting in the way of training, or is training getting in the way of the degree, or how do you weigh up sort of, we've seen the top end girls especially, and now obviously with a couple of engineers and accountants at the top in the male ends, how do you value each piece in terms of which is important? And
I think it's really important to have something, two plans. I think that CrossFit, unfortunately, unless you are winning the games or own a box, you're not making money from that sport.
A successful box, actually.
Yeah, a successful box. You're not making money from the sport. I can see that through, obviously, us and being a part of the gym and being more involved, and your outlays are often way bigger than your intake. So unless you're sponsored in apparel, nutrition, your gym membership and whatever, you're outlaying money
to
be an athlete, unless you are winning.
So is it equally as important to you to do well at CrossFit as it is to be in the uni degree, those two things? Or is it like...
I think originally my degree was my overreaching purpose. It was what I wanted to do. It was my most important thing that I was aiming to get done in the 3 years. In my sort of second years, when we started to balance training full-time, essentially, and studying full-time, the gym for me is just as important as my degree in terms of seeing what I can do and kind of pushing the limits with the athleticism and competitiveness. So I think they're equally important to me. I think at the end of the day, though, in the long run, if I'm, one day make the games or, make regionals, that doesn't take away the fact that I've still got to earn money every day and earn a living. just like, Lockie experience with the Olympics. You can go to the Olympics, you can be an Olympian, but you still got to have, a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah, it'd be good just to be an athlete all day. But they still have to work hard. Like Matt Fraser, his full-time job. He has a chemical engineering or something. Like he's got a degree.
Yeah, he's an engineer.
But he was an Olympic lifter beforehand, then studied university or college, and then through his CrossFit, I'm not sure if he's completed it or
he's finished it.
Yeah, he's finished it. But at the end of the day, if he decides and when he decides to stop,
he's got a backing. Plus, he won the games 3 times.
And he's won the games. And
it's interesting because it's like, we're lucky that we get exposed to different people in the community, especially since you've been doing well. A lot of girls sort of more in contact with us, and there's definitely a common theme of people starting to understand that a lot more now. It's over analysed because when I started CrossFit, there was no prize money anyway. So people were doing it supplementary. It wasn't the sole purpose. But I mean, if you're making $3 million, then it's fine to be a sole purpose for as long as your body can handle the situation. But the other thing is, like, guys like Matt Fraser have 3 to 6 months off a year. Whereas if someone else is studying, they have something else. They have that other thing. You've got that other thing. Whereas a lot of people sort of, this is it. If this is all they're putting their eggs in, we've seen plenty of the girls sort of at that subpar level or just outside those game spots who are sacrificing relationships and uni degrees and I'll come back to this and I'll get back to that. And there's a common belief that that's what you need to do to be the best. But then we're talking about Matt Fraser or Camille or guys who have won the games who have those things and who are doctors, or Michelle Latendra, or even Patrick Vellner. I think he just finished this week his last exams, chiropractic. So
I wouldn't say it's easy. Training for me 3 hours a day, trying to get food, nutrition in, trying to stretch. Like, I'm in the car for an hour and pretty much on a good day, an hour and 15 minutes. On a bad day when the traffic's shit, an hour and a half. I'm sitting down when I'm at uni. I'm sitting down for 8 hours, or I'm in a lab. And like, in terms of maintaining a balance, it's quite difficult. Like, I wouldn't say it's been during the open. I started back at uni and it was really, really hard because the open was my focus and uni was supplementary to that. So getting back into study and exams and assessments and routine was really difficult.
Let's take it back a bit because we're a bit ahead. Let's go back to when you started CrossFit and just sort of like a progression of what that looks like from where you started, sort of in a linear motion to where you are now. So I've obviously told the guys you finished 60th at the Open. Just give them sort of a nice road into how you got here. Yeah,
so I started, we sort of think about 4.5 years ago. So probably 6 months after Paul opened at Kincumber. I was a long distance runner. I wasn't competitive in a sense that I was, competing for any top spots, but I was doing local comps and sort of winning my age group. And
what's a long
distances in 22 half marathons.
Half marathons, yeah.
And so I was averaging training wise, running by myself, 60k a week. So I'd either split that up into 2 sessions. So I'd either run 5 and 5 or a 6 and a 4, or I'd just run the full 10 in the morning. So
for 5 and a 5 is 5 in the morning, 5 at night, 6 in the morning, 6 at night. Did you have a running coach for that?
In
terms of someone who worked technique and running style?
I did do a little bit of track training. So I started doing some track running in Mingara with Margaret. And, there was a few attempts of correcting my gait and things like that. But it was pretty hard to get to because I was only 14 to 16, so I didn't have my license. So I was reliant on my dad, and Dad used to come and run with me after being.
Sorry, my stopwatch hasn't wound up its own.
After being awake all night, so Dad would come back from night shift, he'd sleep for 2 hours, and I'd wake him up and he'd drive me to Mingara and we'd run track. But in terms of my training, it was all individual. I'd get up at 5 a.m. Even rain, hail or shine, I'd chuck my jacket on. I was quite obsessed with it. and I'd feel quite worried if I missed out on my running.
Running for the day, so there's no, nobody's mapping out like, okay, this time of the year you should be running 50 Ks, this time of the year you should be running 60 Ks, this time.
All individual.
Yep.
I knew that I needed to average a certain amount of kilometres to feel, one, reduce muscular fatigue. So for me, when I was running my half marathons, if I hadn't run my distance in terms of prepping, and that could have been like for me a month or 2 months, or I'd get significant calf pain, I'd be fatigued, I wouldn't run as fast. There was a time when I was averaging around 4-minute Ks. I was definitely fast and fit. I don't think I looked like it, but my mum sort of pushed out to me that, in psychologically, running is a very lonesome sort of sport. I was never a competitive person. Like, I always did nippers and little athletics, but I didn't love group training, and I didn't love competitive training with other people. I really liked to just do it myself and pick my own pace and be more intrinsically competitive. So Mum got me into CrossFit. So that was in about, mid 2013. I was just about to start my HSC in 2014, and she wanted me to have more of a outlet where I could kind of throw some stuff around and use what I had. So. And
you previously tried CrossFit with your sister?
Yeah, in Newcastle once. So I did one session and
at CrossFit Newcastle? Yeah,
at CrossFit Newcastle with Buck. So
yep.
Lil was going there and she took me along with her, and we had it was like, sled pushing. It was 4 of us in a class. It was like a 9:30 class, and it was like sled pushing and sprinting and running and skipping and I think maybe a power clean. I'm not sure, but he was like, "Oh, you're fit," and I didn't really think of much when I got back to the coast, because I didn't know that there was gyms on the coast because I wasn't exposed to CrossFit. And Mum mentioned it to one of the girls that she went to uni with, and they let her know about Active in Kinghumber and Paul, and Mum took me in for my first session, dropped me off. Dropped me off, and I think my very first session with like Christina and Paul's cousin, and it was really fun, and I really, really enjoyed it. And Mum and Dad annoyed Paul, I think, 1 or 2 times to get me in and joining, and so that was 2013. And from then, I loved it. I went every day. I sort of stopped relying so much on my running. I still did a few half marathons, but I lost that love for that lonesome kind of just go out and
you still kind of find it anyway in the CrossFit world, like even when you're in a WOD, it's like the community's here, but it's totally different when you're in a dark place, and especially when you're when you first start CrossFit, it's totally different to once you've been doing it for 3 years. It's totally different stimuli in terms of what you're thinking about during a workout. And
it was so fun. I loved it. I loved and I loved the people. That was the biggest thing. I was a OG 6 a.m.er with Ames and Beck and Maddie Willits and Mars and Big Glenn Graham and
Blake.
Blake. So like the community was huge for me, and it provided a bit of a safe place. I was probably moving away and trending away from that scene that the Central Coast and Copa and a lot of people get caught up in, and I was sort of moving away from friends who weren't wanting to put a lot of effort into their study, and I was doing 6 hours of study a day and things like that. So I wasn't the sort of average, probably 18-year-old, and I've always made friends with a lot of people who were older than me, so I really clicked, which was awesome. I had a lot of friends.
How long did you do CrossFit in terms of, back in the day, we used to have at Active, we used to have a level 1, level 2 program, which I know a lot of gyms still have, and we have now currently at our gym, we have a CrossFit and a CrossFit Performance and a CrossFit Elite. And we still offer those 3 things. Totally different setup now in terms of the way that we do them. How long do you think you did the normal CrossFit with the 6 a.m. crew until you did your first level 2 class?
Probably 2 years.
2 years?
A year and a half maybe. A year and a half. I wouldn't say technically, on the gymnastics side of things that good, or even good. I was really still learning. The barbell is a lot more, and I always felt really comfortable with it. In the fitness side of things, obviously the running allowed me to have a really big aerobic capacity to, you know, hold on for wall balls and whatever. I think psychologically too, it helped a lot too. So being able to hold on, and I learned a lot of tricks in terms of running that long distance to be able to shut down a bit. So a year and a half, and then I moved into the CrossFit level 2.
Yeah, just going back there in terms of the running helping certain things and the barbell being a friend, do you think that when you joined the gym, you were leaner than you are now?
No, I was full. I was full of cortisol and water. I really had an unhealthy relationship with food. I was running 10K a day, and then some days I'd go and I'd eat an apple. So I was full of water. I was really
stress,
cortisol, stress hormone. Like I had an amazing upbringing with a lot of nutrition and drilled into me, and a lot of nutritious food. So I was never. I came from obviously being a bit overweight as well. So I definitely had an unhealthy relationship with food. I would unconsciously starve myself because I was always told, "Oh, you don't look like a long distance runner. I'm short and I'm thick." And so when I started to run long distance, I was like, well, you know, I need to get thinner. If I'm lighter, it's easier, you know, like, so I'd developed that unconsciously, and but I was full of water. I did CrossFit, I reckon, for a year without changing physically until I probably started performance, when that intensity increased a little bit for me. And I think the stimulus of CrossFit for training for a year probably helped sort of calm my body down in terms of that water retention and fullness and lack of definition.
Probably a massive benefit though, because most people who come in with a running background, the barbell is not going to be something they're fucking looking forward to. So, you know, even when I started, I was lucky that I was quite strong, just from good genes with mum. But I remember, because I was running when I came in, I hated the barbell. I just wanted kettlebell swings and burpees.
I remember the first time I did a clean, and you were like, you need to do it from your thigh.
Yeah, hip clean up.
And I was like, I can't. And I remember Beck, who said to me, like, I remember her looking, going, I don't think she can. Like, it just reaches too high. My little T-Rex arms. But I definitely like the barbell. It's probably my favorite thing. Probably.
Yeah, like I said, it's pretty rare. Like, very rarely do you find someone who can run 22 Ks and is a little bit heavier. So if they grab a bar and they're deadlifting, you know, for a simple movement, for a nice, effective weight versus weight movement. I think that all these little factors that we're talking about, people think that certain people are just freaks and that there's no constituents that happen to line up. But if you think about that, just purely weight to power ratio, running 21 Ks and being a bit heavier compared to running 21 Ks and weighing 56 kilos as a male, and then trying to come in and do a snatch and a clean and jerk and a back squat. So all those types of things, although they might just seem like steps along the way that don't really have any significance, they have huge significance, because if you can manage a little bit more load and you are moving, especially the back squat, the deadlift, and say the bench, which we've incorporated, you're going to get those results in terms of longevity, and transferring that into your clean, and transferring that into your snatch, and transferring that. You know, people just think you turned up one day and all of a sudden you could snatch and clean and jerk, and even now people started at the same time as you are like, oh yeah, I still can't snatch, I still can't. But there's all these constituents, you know, being young, having parents who are doing sort of yoga and Pilates and training with your sister and running, all these things compound into allowing for this progression. And you see it across the board when we look at girls who are your age, or even up into the 30s, who are dominating sort of that regionals level. They've all got some sort of story similar to this, where they're like, oh yeah, I used to do gymnastics, or I used to, and even though you're like, oh, I don't have that gymnastics background, being heavier and coming into a good gym, having 21 Ks of running, having 60 Ks of running a week under your belt, when realistically nowadays it's all about conditioning. Like, it's as much as there is about the barbell, you can teach a 20-year-old to snatch in 6 months, but you can't teach a 20-year-old to run 21 Ks. Like, you need to be able to do that stuff. So I think that has a huge factor in these steps that people miss along the way. They're just like, oh, you just went from normal person to crazy CrossFitter, and they're like, oh, well, actually, I was running 60 Ks a week at 15. What were you doing? You know, and they're like, oh yeah, I was running, but they weren't heavy. They were light, and they were just running because it suited them. So there's a lot of constituents that sort of lead up to this point into getting into that.
And definitely, like, I didn't come into CrossFit and find it easy.
No.
That's one of the reasons that I loved it, was that it was tough and it was hard and it was foreign, and getting myself to do kipping pull-ups was a challenge. But yet, coming from, like you said, my mum and dad, I'm probably really lucky that intrinsically I have a lot of movement awareness and body awareness. So in terms of Paul cueing
and being
hips,
young,
poppy hips, I was like, I understand what that means, or pull now, or all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was definitely a nice intro into CrossFit and the community and joining active. I think really now Cohort, your gym really helped me be where I am now. But it's been a solid 4.5 years of training.
I think people don't think that. I think they think you just turned up and got good in a year, and even people close to us probably think the same thing, but they forget about.
My first open, I think I finished like 7,000th.
Yeah. In
2014 was my first open, 7,000th, and then 2015 I finished 300. So there was a definite, a big jump. There was a huge jump for sure. But I started performance at level 2, and I had been training and running, and we were doing some PT and training together, and
we went to the games 2015. Watched the CrossFit Games in California.
Yeah, and then in 2016, end of 15. No, hang on. 15, I still did pretty shit. 16, I got 300, and then 17, I came 80th, and then
this year 60th,
and then this year 60th. So for me, 2000 and
that's the right way to go. When I started, I came like 60th. Now I'm fucking 7,000th. There's too many people doing this sport.
Too many people. Yeah, so I think I definitely didn't. It's been a linear progression.
And it's still going, isn't it?
And it's still going.
You really are developing now.
100%. Like there's in the year that, and this is the thing. Like
if you get some fucking decent training without injury, without breaking your knee or your foot.
Well, that was my 2016. I had a knee surgery. And then
What was the knee surgery from?
Running. So over the years that I ran, I progressively tore my meniscus, and it was obliterated. It was gone. So in probably 2016, I was squatting and I couldn't get up, and I noticed that I had more of like a disconnect between a sort of communication. Yep. So I kind of left it, and I saw a few physios.
Some squatting. We kept squatting.
Kept squatting through it, and
but you were cleared as well. Like a couple of physios said, we think it's this, we think it's that.
Yeah, and then I had one physio tell me it was meniscus, and I never went back.
Yeah, and then he was right.
She was right. She was right. Then I went back to her after I had my surgery. But so I had my surgery in late 2016. And then probably 4 weeks after that, I broke my foot.
Dropped the box, cleaning the gym.
Cleaning the gym on my foot and broke my foot, so I was in a boot. So it was the same leg, and I definitely missed out on a lot of, strength in terms of doing power cleans and doing, full snatches
squatting.
And running, exercise, anything. I couldn't really do anything. Yeah, I was doing hip thrusts. And then 2017 Open came, and I just did it for fun. I'd been probably training again for 4, 5 weeks, 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
6 weeks.
That was tough. That was tough Open as well, because we didn't know what to expect. We moved gyms. We didn't go to regionals. Was it that year? We ended up not the year before. Like, that was a tough year, and really, there was no intention. You had no intention ever doing the Open to do well in the Open.
No, never.
And so I think that when both of us saw that, and then you'd made I think the games had a lot to do with it. Obviously, both of us going to the games.
Yeah.
Watching that unfold, watching Ben Smith take the podium, seeing young girls down there, and then coming back, doing well in the Open, doing really well in the Open 2017, just sort of really having fun.
Yeah, I just had a heap of fun.
And I think leading in to the Open, we had an idea that, hold on, something's going on.
Yeah,
we're getting
and the
fit
workouts
up.
were
Awesome.
It
was a good year.
Like there was a heavy snatch, which separated the pack a bit.
That was huge,
helped me, and then we just decided after watching regionals, Paul asked me, "Is this something that you want to do?" I
believe that you said to me, watching it, I want to do this, and then I was like, "That's fine, but you have to be serious about it."
And then we just have been we
chipping away.
We trained for a solid year. Oh, probably not even just under a year. We trained for the Open.
But your training changed. A lot of people sort of thought that it was. You kind of only got I would say 4 months of structured programming that wasn't all of our programming is structured, but you'd moved from you'd moved from performance to sort of just free balling it. Like I was just sort of riding and giving you excess work, but because we'd moved from that format where there was a scientific structure in place, there was some strength components, there was gymnastics progressions, there was practice. We'd moved from that to just like, let's bury you as much as we can before the Open. And to be honest, because of your age, and especially your training age, that a lot of people don't take into account, your training age is very young. It probably was the reason you did so well. That lack of structure, that free, old school CrossFit, how you feeling today? Yeah, shit, that's cool, we'll do this. How you feeling? Yep, I feel great, let me attack this workout. That method for where you were at was great, and it was reflective in your results, but it was also reflective of the lack of progression in certain things, in certain areas, was because we weren't working on them. It was just like, do muscle ups in the WOD, do toe to bar in the WOD. It wasn't, an EMOM with 7 rounds. So I think a lot of people don't know that elite program that you're sort of on now only really developed the very, very end before the Open of before we went to Tassie. So you only really did that program for sort of 4 to 6 months, and consistently probably only 4 months. So it's really interesting. If we hadn't, I think it's understated that if we had more time, and we had no injuries, life gets in the way, things would be different. And that's what's nice about this sport, is everyone's battling the same obstacles you are. There's no one out there who's not working, who doesn't have kids, who's not training, who hasn't broken their foot. Some people have broken their backs and their necks, and
I think the year under my belt too is really important. I've never experienced the Open the way I experienced it. It was so different to the community was great, it was nothing of that sort. It was completely directed to how I was going, and psychologically it was very, very difficult for both of us. It's a very taxing time in itself for any gym owner or, anyone who helps run a gym.
You're right. And I think, and you're unlucky in a sense that, you have to be you're lucky and unlucky, because it's a catch-22 where when you're that involved with the community, there's an expectation that you have to coach and judge and do all these aspects of the Open as an owner's partner or as a coach, or that's not alleviated just because you're going to crush the Open. So even though it is lovely to be a part of that, the guys in our gym probably don't understand the level that we were all sort of myself, Lockie, Ryan and Jenna were sort of undergoing an immense stress of, we had sort of 75 people signed up for the Open. We had you competing for the first real time ever, like taking it as a competition, actually using it as a pinnacle of your sport. Then we had, Big Lock at the Olympics, and it was very, I think it's understated how tough that time was, and emotionally draining for both of us. That time was. I don't think people would understand the amount that took out of us, and
it was really exhausting.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's what we signed up for, and that's part of doing it. It's definitely not my first Open, but it's definitely my first Open going through that. This year we'll have things in place to obviously alleviate some of that pressure, and hopefully make that journey a little bit easier, as long as, touch wood, everything goes good.
I think it was important for me to have the experience. I don't think it would have been phenomenal to make it, for sure. It would have been awesome to stand on the floor, but...
Like the handstand walk, though.
I know, the handstand walk, but I didn't make it, which means that there are, 30 girls or 40 girls who are better.
Out-trained you on those...
Out-trained me.
In that last 12 months.
Yep, and I want to get there. I don't want to get there. I want to be a contender. I want to stand on the floor and know that, that all those girls earn their spot. Like, to come top 40, is a huge thing.
Come top 100 these days. 60 used to go. It used to be 60.
Yeah.
Now it's 30. When I started, it used to be 60.
Yeah. And everyone, there's a level of skill that you see separates a field once you're there. And I don't want to look silly. I want to know that I'm more than capable.
And that takes time, doesn't it? I mean, that's what you're saying about the year.
Training is. This year is literally going to help build what we've already built and re-strengthen what needs to be re-strengthened and restructured, and then again work on those weaknesses to maybe help them not be weaknesses.
I think that the other thing is that luckily, because you have uni, because we have things going on in our lives, because we've got the gym, the best thing is that it can be a 5-year journey.
Yeah.
For most people, it needs to be this year.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, I've got a fucking fractured tibia. I'm just going to try my best to get through. It's like, no, it's a journey.
Just pull back.
Matt Fraser comes second, you know,
Yeah.
3 years in a row.
Yeah.
You know, those guys, you know, look at Annie. She's been going since I started, since 2010. Those guys are doing a 10-year journey. If you're upset and emotional about it, that's fine. You're allowed to be upset, and we never take away from that. But you have to be realistic that any sport in the world needs to be a 5-year commitment minimum.
Yeah.
Like Lockie's Olympics was 4 years to maybe make it, to maybe not make it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's definitely...
Speaking of regionals, let's talk about
let's do it.
workouts. So Paul did all of them.
Yuck, yeah, they were good. First of all, let's say that it was, for me, the worst programmed regionals I've seen.
It's a general consensus, I think most people feel.
Yeah, I think people have been around a while and to understand a bit of programming are probably feeling the same way. I did put up an article saying that not to judge the workouts unless you're prepared to do them, and I think that still stands. I don't think that I know more than Dave Castro. I don't think that I would have programmed a better regionals, but I think viewership for everyone who wanted to go and he wanted to sell more tickets, and for fans and families and friends, I do think it was the worst programmed viewing regionals thus far. Mainly day one, purely based on the fact that he had so much to do with those workouts. There's so much you could do with such a beautiful set of workouts. He's got 6 great movements in there, 3 monostructural, 3 weightlifting. You really could have made that a fun day. There's no reason to drag that out. It's, you know, if you want to test a long workout, you don't have to do a 49-minute row run double under. He's done it with chippers multiple years, changed the 3-mile run to a 3K run, just little things he could have adapted to keep it the 333. So yeah, just my personal opinion is that it was the poorest one to watch. And I don't think that had to do with changing the arenas in the Pacific. I do like Wollongong. I love the culture that getting everybody to a smaller community, whereas Sydney's this huge monster of a community where they've built this thing for the Olympics, and now it's kind of like a dead world where you just go in, and it's kind of like Westworld, where everyone's just, once you're in, everyone's together, and then you sort of separates when you get out. So I think that there was nothing inherently wrong with the arena. The arena was beautiful. The viewing was great. I felt, you know, on the last day that we had amazing seats wherever we were. The crowd was cool. But in terms of culture, when you take the regionals from somewhere that's so small and they depend on that regionals to make money, to showcase, you know, the beaches down at Wollongong and those types of things, of course I would love it to be there, but I don't think that had an effect on the athletes on the day. I don't think
I've seen a few people post that who are athletes that said that the new arena was much better for the athletes who have been there multiple years.
And that's what it's about. It's about them.
Yeah, it's about them. It's not about us.
And it's obviously to get more people. It's a much more central location. The poor people have to travel from Asia, Russia, New Zealand. They don't want to then get into a car and drive another 2 hours. So, you know, personally, I'd love to see it in Wollongong because it's just a great culture, but it's also not, as an athlete, I wouldn't like to, if I was driving down there as an athlete, I'd like to get there 2 days early and warm up and loosen my body up.
Yeah.
So yeah, just that's...
But everyone knows event 1. So how was event 1?
Event 1 was the 333. Look, I think this is a great workout. I remember watching this live and I think Rich Froning was walking on this, so it kind of brings back a lot of memories for people to watch Rich Froning walk on this event, and I'm pretty sure Rob Fort, he won this event at the CrossFit Games. So I'm a huge fan of this workout. I've programmed a variation of this multiple times for yourself, Lake and Watt, Kat Baker, when they came down and trained here. We programmed a very, very similar workout with some rope climbs, a 3K row, a 3K run. It was very cool. I thought it was a great workout. When it first came out, my initial thought was, this is awesome. I can't wait to see a repeat. And then obviously the thought process of what actually watching 49 minutes of nothing was like. I don't think we need to get into it too bad. I did view most of this one online, even before the Pacific Regional was on, just to see if it was worth viewing. I think everything that the athletes have been through it's a shame that people wouldn't go and watch, same as us. You know, obviously we had some personal stuff going with my mum, but it's a shame for the athletes that after 12 months of training, some of their friends and families are like, oh, you know what? And you know, I'm not being facetious with that. Some people generally would be like, hey, do you mind if I get there on the next day? And I know that I know that I felt like that. And you know, I don't think there was any surprises in the takeout of Tia and James on that.
Yeah. Event 2
was Linda.
Linda.
I'm a huge fan of Linda. I'm a huge fan of him programming a benchmark workout or a female or a hero. I think that's amazing. I've loved watching, you know, we watched Murph live when everyone passed out and died. That was amazing.
2015.
I would have, you know, changing the weight, blah, 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 takes away from, you know, selecting certain workouts, obviously takes away from the purpose of that workout. It's a pure strength, but then you've got like this light clean in there. Oh, I did that workout. I thought it absolutely buried me. I thought that was up there with, out of the events, that was the second hardest event. I love deadlifts. I love bench press. I love squat clean. And I'm sure a lot of people would have assumed for some unknown reason that CrossFitters don't bench press. But, you know, a lot of the guys that I trained with the last sort of decade, who have been to regionals in teams, they've all done bench press, and when we were down there, we didn't really get surprised by anybody on the bench. No. I didn't really see anyone who, there was a couple in there obviously struggling, but most people got a fair 3 reps through, even the girls who, you know, everyone thought, oh, it's going to be heavy, a lot of girls don't bench, the usual stigma that comes with that we'd heard even in the gym. Great classic workout for those people saying, I'm going to crush this workout, just from personal experience. A lot of people saying to me, oh, I would crush that workout for themselves. It wasn't as easy as I thought, and watching it, that was probably one of the better ones to work out, like to watch, because you could see them moving their chest piece. Cool.
It was fun.
Squat clean was like ridiculously easy compared to the other 2 movements. I remember watching the girls deadlift, and it was tough. Yeah, it was tough. It was tough to watch.
The time cap's only 13 minutes?
17, I think.
13.
Oh, was it? 13
minutes. That's a lot of work. 10 down to 1 for all movements.
You sure?
Yeah.
No, I think it was longer because there were 2 massive ones. I think it's those 2 there. That's the 13-minute cap. Is it? I don't know. I think it was longer because it took me like 20 minutes. I finished it in like 7 minutes after the time cap. It was horrendous. It was actually quite bad. I enjoyed the workout, but it was a much harder workout than I thought. And like I said, I feel like that's the one that when I put the article up, everyone was like, I'm going to crush this. And, you know, like you've got guys and girls absolutely dominating your 1RM deadlift out there. So it was impressive to watch those guys do it, the Karas and the Tias and hey Ollie. And crazy event. It was nice to see a bench press in there. Like I said before, I would love to see a dumbbell chest to bar frame in there for a woman or a benchmark.
What about...
No pull up this year?
Yeah, no
pull up this year. Yeah, but there's muscle ups every year. I was really devo with that. I would love to see some chest to bars in there again to help.
There was toes to bar.
Yeah, but we had rope climb again and the muscle up again for the pulling movements.
What about the toe to bar? Walk? Let's talk about that. How was that as a skilled obstacle that you did and that you saw, and like, what do you take away from that?
My initial thought was
risk reward, or
my initial thought is it was really cool. When I first saw he release it, I thought it was really cool. In hindsight, a double ramp would have been, I feel, an appropriate obstacle. The stairs, just from doing them and watching people fall and things like that, I think risk reward, because the way he had it set up, it wasn't too bad. But for the test of fitness, I would have liked to see a double ramp. I would like to see the ramp go up, ramp go down, make it a bit more puffy, give those bigger, sort of heavier girls the chance to sort of make it up the ramp, give it a crack. And that's not taking away from the workout. It's a highly skilled workout. I'm sure if you've got a gymnastics background, you're like, nah, fuck that. It's a great workout. Leave it as it is. It was excellent to watch. That was probably one of my favorites to watch because of the pistol. Watching people race on the pistol was amazing. Watching the muscle ups, of course, is always enjoyable. Doing the workout, once I got the stairs, it was not a tough workout in terms of if you're moving quite averagely, which most people looked like they were struggling with the handstand walk. It wasn't actually a bad workout. It did take me about 30 attempts to get the stairs. I didn't practice it. I just went straight in. I'm not a regionals athlete, so it's not
That's
correlative, but
pretty comfortable in your hands.
yeah, so I did finish the workout, and once I got that stairs done, it probably was only sort of like a 10-minute workout from there on for me. So I do not like pistols, but I did like that workout. I thought that the rep scheme, the speed of it was epic. I really enjoyed that workout. I think that, had people got there who, as we saw, who shouldn't have been there, it really stung them.
Yeah.
And that was nice to see. It's always nice to see from guys who have been in the community a long, long time, to see people be challenged in a way that if there was some sort of bullshit going on to get them there, that they're going to come unstuck. And to have ring muscle ups and to have handstand walking and pistols in the same workout is like, if you deserve to be there, this is a great show, just purely on gymnastics.
Yeah.
And then we had event 4, which I thought would have been your favourite workout if you'd made it there, the snatch
My favourite.
burpee. But like I said, everyone has a favourite workout. I would have liked to watch you do this one. When you're better from our accident, I would like to watch this one. I think it'll be ridiculously quick. This was my favourite Katrin one to watch. I'm a huge fan of watching this chick burn through these. Obviously, Tia and Cara were amazing, and the boys, Newbury, just creeping in from behind. That was an amazing. I watched that. And
what about you? Like, how do you feel about watching some of the snatching in terms of ability to move 125, or is that reflective of?
I feel like the movement was great. The weight was great. You can't say that. It's not like the year before where we had the snatch all the way up to the heavy, and then if you get to regionals you can't snatch, there's something going on.
Yeah,
I felt like this was more of the max clean is, we've got guys in our gym who can probably out clean me these days, but not many who can out snatch purely because of the technical prowess. So I wasn't surprised to see what was going on. It's always tough to watch. Some of the guys and girls struggling with that first weight. The year before was way worse, I thought, when people had that heavy workout at the Open and then went to regionals and couldn't move the first bar. This year, you can't. These guys are 2 days in. It's their 4th workout.
And they're still there, and you're not.
And they're still there, and they've done the work. God knows how much they've trained to get there. But yeah, of course, I would like to see that moved a bit better. I mean, you're watching these guys finish this thing in 7 minutes, and some of them in 5, and then some people not moving past sort of the second round. I did the workout RX with this one. It was a good WOD. Obviously, I didn't finish in the cap. I did the whole workout. I finished every single workout, so this one went over. I thought it was a good workout. I thought it was a very open-esque style workout. I would have liked to see something a little different from regionals. In terms of the snatching, it would have been nice to see a descending ladder as the weight goes up, the reps come down, and the burpee is still the same. I love to watch the burpee in the regionals because it just brings the big units to, like, as in not large humans, but as in the advanced athletes back to those humble beginnings where they have to do 1,000 burpees. But yeah, I think I don't think it was anything special to watch. Obviously watching Katrin do it was pretty amazing, but in terms of the workout, would have been nice to see a little bit of variation in there. Very open-esque style workout for me.
And 5. The 50s.
50s, hardest workout. This was the best programmed workout purely because it tested every single athlete in a different capacity. You've got the handstand push-up in there, the toter bar, you've got the assault bike, and then you've got these ridiculously awkward objects with the step-overs. A very classic pre-CrossFit movement. The dumbbell step-over has been around a very, very long time. However, a lot of people don't do them. People just want to do the pretty stuff, the thrusters and the burpees. That's what they think CrossFit is. This was an epic workout. I did this with a friend of mine who absolutely smoked me. Big Dan. And yeah, I thought this was my favourite programmed workout. And I did it at the girls' weight, and I didn't finish in the cap. I obviously finished the workout. I made a point to do it all, and it absolutely fucked me. Like, I was in all sorts.
Yes.
That's what we want. The hardest bit was by far the dumbbell step over after doing the assault bike. It was the best to watch. We watched it. Who did
really well? Girls or?
Ollie's just doing pull-ups in the back. You can do it, mate. I don't think we can hear it on here. We can give it a crack. See what happens.
Girls or boys? Someone crushed it.
Fuck, Matt Riley every year.
Yeah,
he's phenomenal. This guy.
Chipper.
He's my favourite guy to watch.
Came out of nowhere.
every year. And we watched in 2015 before we watched Shadow go to the
Yeah,
games.
with their double unders and their box jumps. And what about Tia running over to Sammy Wood? That was pretty cool. Tia ran over to her because she had to pick it up. She had like 30 seconds to go. It was pretty cool.
Sammy Wood, Battler. Been there for years.
Yeah.
Last workout, the sprint was pretty epic to watch, actually.
That was pretty cool. Tia crushed it.
Yeah.
16, 4 rope climbs, 16 thrusters.
That was ridiculous, actually, to watch.
3 climbs, 12, 2, and finishing with the 6. What about people that held on?
Well, she held on and fucking dominated it.
Yeah.
And that was okay, but someone, like, I think this is a good workout for a very specific type of person. Like,
Yeah.
you know if you're going to crush this workout. And most of those
Definitely.
guys definitely tried to go out. We had a couple of guys
It's the last workout.
go out a bit hard and obviously not quite hang on. But I think that was a massive, massive positive workout for Castro. Classic push-pull,
Sprint.
really functional. You've got the rope climbers that are the pull-ups, they're all close grip. You've got the thrusters at a decent weight, quite heavy. I did this one scaled, and I think I did it at one.
You did it heavier.
I did it scaled. I did it 135. I did it 135. And even then, I'm pretty sure T beat me by 2 minutes. And I'm pretty good at those two movements. Obviously not as good as the fittest woman on earth, but it was pretty tough. I thought that was definitely one of his better workouts. Like, I just love the classic push-pull. He's got changes in there so you can watch people change. So you've got these descending numbers where you can watch people speed up, and that's the intention. He wants people to sort of keep going at that high output. Out of all of them, I think that last day was just an absolute beaut to watch. Like, that's Sunday. The stadium was packed. It was crazy. That watching Tia finish that workout was
cool.
Insane. I think that the vibe in the arena makes a huge difference, especially at the top end, because those top end get that cheer that you just don't hear in the bottom heats. Like when we're listening to sort of the lower end of the heats, it's harder for those guys because there is a silence around the room. And
There was a few heavy cheers when they were like, they had 30 seconds and they could get it done. There was a few good cheers, but yeah, I agree.
I just feel like if you're 4 days, you're 3 days in, you're 4 workouts in, you're 5 workouts in, every little piece helps. And I definitely, it's the same. I'm sure it's the same in every region, but that's kind of some things I felt like being in the arena. There was times where you could hear a pin drop, and it was, I don't know if that was the size. The stadium was bloody huge this year, but I definitely felt that lack of sort of atmosphere in specific environments. The music could have been
how terrible was the music?
Music could have been a bit louder and selected prior to the games. I feel like someone should have spent some time.
What was that?
I don't know. They think it doesn't
like
make a difference.
Gangster rap in some of it, and then
I just feel like there's not enough effort put into those little pieces.
It's not necessarily for the athletes, because you say, if you're listening to the music.
Oh, they got no idea what's playing.
But it's more for the vibe and the atmosphere, and like, if you put on a pump up music, people are gonna get into it and like hone in. But yeah, there was a general consensus that the music was pretty average. We picked it up on a very first
Whoever's doing
day.
the music, don't be offended. You're probably doing your best.
Got someone's iPod.
You're just giving you some constructive criticism.
Throwback to summer hits of So Fresh.
Yeah, that's about it. I thought it was a great regionals. I thought that, again, it was probably the poorest regionals for us as spectators to get involved in. Our region was tough as well because Tia and James dominated from the day one. So it was impressive, but it was also like, well, it was kind of like watching Matt Fraser at the games. Obviously, Kara's dominating as well, but just watching Tia and James in particular, the style that they're taking this sport with is definitely feeding into the Australian community. There's a growing presence and backing of that style of taking on the workouts, that sort of calm, positive, humble approach that these guys are having. I just feel that there's this positive vibe. You can hear when the crowd starts to cheer for those types of people. There's definitely, which I'm really enjoying, because back in the day, when Chad and Rob and those guys were really sort of taking it by storm, it wasn't as aggressive to be great at this sport. People doing it because they just truly loved it, and I feel like that essence is coming back.
Yeah.
watching James and Tia do it, and obviously the teams and. Even seeing Rob, one of my highlights was watching Rob hang on to the thruster?
The snatch, and his mate went to go get it out of his hand, and he's like, just get off me.
That was unbelievable. So
Let me hold on.
I think that was definitely a highlight. I can't remember who the pistol raced. There was a couple of girls racing the pistol.
Sammy and Lakin had a pistol
Sammy and
race.
Lakin, that was a highlight.
Ortiz and Harry? No, Ortiz.
Yeah.
Ortiz and
Harriet, that was amazing. I think Sammy Drescher getting a first handstand. What was it, Sammy Drescher?
Yeah, and
that
she
was
got
pretty
over
impressive.
There. That was cool.
What else was good? Any major stacks? I don't think I remember any major stacks.
Oh, there was some
There
stuff.
some falls, but nothing crazy.
Final.
Obviously, Zeke Grove getting in was pretty
that was
phenomenal.
Cool.
I didn't know he'd had the concussion, the coma.
Virus.
That's amazing. And he had a baby. He did look, I felt like he looked better this year than the last few years in terms of, his attitude to the workouts, his physique. I felt like he just looked like he was prepped. Royce Dunn getting in, obviously the crowd favourite. There was some crazy cheers coming from that end of the room. The guy's obviously got a huge personality. He wanted to go teams, as I saw they posted. He wanted to go teams, doesn't know how to swim. That was pretty epic. Dean Little-Leighton, probably the unsung soldier of the weekend. He didn't get much love, but, everyone's opinions aside, the dude came second to James Newbury, who dominated the weekend. He kind of stayed up there all weekend and never looked like a chance that he wasn't going to make it. It's his first year to the games, and he really did, outshine, I think, what anyone was thinking.
Back in when Kim Pedersen did the review on the Pacific Regional, and we watched it, the story in the Pacific.
Oh, God, yeah.
That was awesome, but that was 2015, and
he's buried everything, moved gyms, changed his whole life, his heart and soul.
He was like, this is the best shape I've ever been in to get to the games, and he didn't make it. And
he's got a heaps better haircut now, but
what about Swanee? That would have been pretty devastating.
Yes,
he looks pretty devastating.
I'm a big fan of the Swan. I think he's been around a long time. Lots of us have had the enjoyment of watching him grow and change through the sports, obviously through his Swifty and his own gym back in home front, I think it was, or no, what was it? Western Front, and then he sold that, moved forward, and now he's with Cara. It is a shame, actually. You want everyone to do well. It's a positive sport. You want everyone to just crush, do their best. You're watching them train all year through social media. The commitment, especially training you. I see what goes into this stuff, and you're heartbroken for people, no matter who it is. Watching, for me personally, I thought, watching Jess Coughlin just again get back, to that spot that she was in a few years ago, I just was heartbroken. There's not anyone that I don't want to go, But
what do you think happens as a coach, as a programmer, as a partner who sees someone go through that? What do you think? Is it?
It's fully emotional. I just think that everybody feels like they let everybody down, and nobody let anybody down. With CrossFit, it does change every single time you go to regionals, and you can't say, oh yeah, but Tia wins because she didn't win last year. But Cara wins because she didn't win this year. Oh, James, James won it 2 years in a row, but, Khan's back to the games, amazing feat, so another change. Rob Fort going to the games in teams, another change. I think it's fully emotional. You watch Jess and Rob sort of live and breathe this stuff together and be dominant force in the sphere of CrossFit, especially in Australia for the past, God. I competed against Rob in 2010. It's 2018. He's been raw since then. He had a raw shirt on back then. It's just, I feel for those guys. I think it's deeply emotional. I can't begin to know what it's like to sit in that spot and has before. I feel like obviously this year they'll deal with it a totally different way.
Yeah. So do you think it comes to a training thing, or do you think it comes down to maybe making the games, coming back from the games, reevaluating?
I think it comes all the way back to those steps that we spoke about right at the start. I think the sport's evolved to a spot where if those steps haven't been in place way before now, then everybody's finding their caps. Yeah. Really CrossFit will weed out anyone who's not willing to do those things. Yeah. And I don't think that, say, if someone came 6th, they didn't do those things, but the people who came 5th and 4th and 3rd, are better adapted to those things. Not just as in, yeah, of course, Coach PK, of course they're better adapted. They came 5th. No. Like if you turn upside down multiple times, you're not going to get any chance of shoulder impingement. Your trap's not going to get tight. If you do the snatch burpee workout, your back's not going to blow out. If you do the deadlift workout, you don't have any stress fractures happening in your lower back. There's no history of prior disease. You don't have a family history of disc issues. Like there's so much more in play in 2018 than there was. And then obviously just pure skills that we haven't seen before. Like the handstand walk, I'm sure would have changed the game for say 4th, 5th, and 6th in both the male and female.
And deadlift, do you think? It being a heavier...
Not as much. Just, it's a straight movement, so the variance is purely strength. Someone might be extremely strong overhead. I'm guessing Jess Coughlin is extremely strong overhead. And the handstand walk isn't a representation of that. It's a skill factor in terms of getting upside down. So I think there's a huge variance in the skill. So that's starting to weed out people. And again, it's not like she didn't have the skill. I watched her do the handstand walks, and I watched Khan do the handstand walks, and all the boys do the handstand walks, and some of the people who crush the handstand walks are sitting back in 30th. It's just the sport's got into a sport, a point where people like Tia and James, who are attacking this sport as a 5-year goal, there's a holistic approach to mobility, nutrition, sleep, and I know everybody's doing it, but there's certain levels of necessity now where if you can't do such and such, then it is going to limit your range once you get to that higher level.
Sure.
I think the strength is equally as important as endurance, which in the last 5 years has been a huge change. I think we had a lot of strength work, a lot of Olympic lifting work the past 5 or 6 years, and for me, the last decade of watching this sport, all of us turned from running and burpees to weightlifting, and now it's going back the other way. We can teach people snatching, clean and jerk, and back squat and deadlift. Now we're going back the other way and being like, oh God, you can't do an overhead squat with a dumbbell, well, you're fucked. And I can't do those things because I got into the sport. I'm 30. I could fix those things, but by the time I do, you're going to be way above me, and that's what's happening.
Yeah.
People like yourself and those younger crew are coming in with those already built, and we've got guys in our gym who are 7 or 8. Imagine when they're 23. That's it. That's all we've got time for. We'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
Thanks, Soph. Thanks everyone for listening. Hope you guys got something for this. Soph will be back with the big man, Big Lock. We'll be doing another one. And we'll also be doing a vlog of Soph's training the next couple of weeks. We'll be logging her training all year. So anyway, we'll see you on Cohort Cast 5. See ya.
Yeah.